Hello, hello, my lovely Year 2 artists. Welcome to your Textiles project. We've been looking at textile artists and people who are inspired by germs and viruses and bacteria. This is Elin Thompson. This is Eleanor Irwin, who does lovely hand-stitched little bacteria and viruses. But doing art textiles doesn't just mean that we work with cloth. Here we have some work by Zexter, who stitches into photographs she takes. And this is work by Maurizio Anzeri. He uses a sewing machine to stitch over old photographs. This is by Villasana, who stitches beautiful coloured wools into large photographs. So we're going to do something very similar with our textiles project, where we're going to practice our stitches by sewing into some photographs. And so we're going to need to choose one of these lovely photos, which I've put on card for you. And they're all close-up pictures of viruses and bacteria or germs that we've been looking at. And we're going to have a look at the pictures. Once you've chosen one, you sort of think about the shapes that are on there, and you're going to do some stitching. So to do that, we're going to need our needle and some thread. We've got some embroidery thread here, and you can choose a colour that goes with it or something completely different. It's up to you. What you need to do is cut off the end of your thread so it's all together, and then you need to do a bit of twisting because it's made up of lots of little strings all together, and we've got to wiggle it onto the needle through the little hole and pull it through. And what I want you to do then is pull through quite a bit of thread so it's in a double thickness, and you snip the end there and you're going to tie a knot. And you do this by pinching it between your thumb and your second finger. Have a look in a moment, I'll show you. Thumb and second finger, and then you wrap it round and round with a gap and flip through to tie a nice chunky knot in the bottom of your thread. So now you've got a nice knot in a double thread and your needle can't fall off, and we're ready to start sewing. Now the first thing we do is make a hole, but we don't sew through, we're just making a hole so we can see where we want to put our first stitch. There we go. I'm poking it through. Can you see the hole? So I chose a place on my card where I wanted my first stitch, and now I'm covering it up with a bit of tape. This is just to help it not to come through too quickly and rip the paper. So there I am. I'm doing my first stitch. Now you can do quite big stitches like Villasana did in hers. That's fine. I'm going to do a stitch on each of these strange little arms that stick out. Now look. Don't worry if you make a mistake like this, because it's paper, we can just poke it back through. Do you see? There we go. I've made a mistake, I corrected it. So you poke your hole in and poke your thread through. And we can poke our hole in from the outside, but we don't push it in. We push it in from the back. So we want to make a hole in the front and pull through. But then when we want to come in from the back, we make a little hole and then follow through. Okay, so here we go. Lots of nice stitches. And when we get to the end of our stitching, there we go, I finished that. We're going to cut off that and we're going to tape it down. And we can do that with the paper. We can't do that with fabric, but we can do that with the paper or the cardboard, whatever we're stitching into there. Okay, so now I'm going to change colours, I think, and it's going to be exactly the same process of threading my needle, and it might take you a while to thread your needle, and that's fine. And then we poke holes and push our thread through. Now I'm doing a second one here to show you. I'm doing a bit like Zexter, who made circles and things on hers, so I'm going to do that with mine as well. But it's all about just having an experiment. We're practicing our sewing skills, and we're just seeing what we can do with this. It's just an opportunity to try and do something a little bit different and special. And this being art textiles, we don't have to use fabric. There we go, that's looking nice. I found another little way of doing it, which is where I traced round something that I wanted to sew round with my needle first. I made dots all the way round, and it made it easier to actually sew once I'd already made all the dots, all the little holes in there. Can you see that? That worked really well. So there's different techniques you can try, just see what works. And if you find something works really well, show somebody else. Right, so we've done our sewing, we've stuck on our piece of thread on the back, and we're ready to put our needle and thread away and have a look at what we've done. Here we go. I'm really pleased with these. You see, I used yellow thread on that one and I used blue and pink on that one. The last thing to do is just to write your names on and have a look at each other's work. Absolutely super duper. Happy stitching, everyone. Have fun. And remember, it's just a practice.